Let's get expert opinion on the fight from legendary boxing writer Dan Rafael. Now, morning, Dan.
Morning, Danny boy.
Hey guys, we got a lot to discuss.
Oh, Dan, I mean, what a fight. I mean, we build it up. We talked about Joshua being, the one who's going to be the guy coming out on top. But Daniel Dubois, what a performance.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, it's the crowning moment of his life as a professional boxer, no doubt about it, not even close. And upsets happen, and for good reason, he was the underdog. Although I think we can all agree that in his recent couple of fights, he had fought much better than he had previously. So if you were hanging your hat on Dubois scoring the upset, you'd look and say, I mean, okay, Anthony Joshua's fought pretty well in his recent fights also in the knockout against Ngannou, even though Ngannou's not really a boxer, and obviously he looked really good against Otto Wallin, and he's done well in his recent fights. But the better competition, frankly, in the recent fights belonged to Dubois with the victory, the way that he scored a knockout against Hrgovic, before that against Gerald Miller to sort of, do the best he could to wipe the stink off of that terrible loss against Usyk that took place in summer of 2023. And he did the job. What else can you say? You got to just take your hat off to him. Joshua showed the heart. He showed the desire. He actually had Daniel Dubois, I thought, pretty hurt in the last few moments of the fight until he got greedy with another right hand and tried to land another one, and he got countered right on the chin and over and out.
I have to say, the way Dubois started the fight, I mean, it was electric from round one. He put Joshua in a lot of trouble in that round one. And I always felt, Dan, in the fight, that Joshua never really truly recovered. There was a couple of rounds there, but funnily enough, you make the great point. The fifth round felt like he might start to have found his feet again. What is the mistake that he made?
Well, like I just said, he got a right hand in that hurt Dubois. He actually landed, if you go back and look at it, he landed 3 right hands. All 3 of them landed, but one of them was really, really rough. And Frank Warren even mentioned after the fight that he saw it. He was kind of worried about Dubois. But to his credit, Dubois took it. But the thing about it was he lands the 3 shots. He backs Dubois up. He looks like he's going in for the kill. And like I said, he got greedy. He went for yet another right hand. He didn't switch it up. He should have maybe gone to the body, maybe gone to use his other hand. And when he went for the 4th right hand in a row, Dubois was ready for it. He counted him and right over the punch, and he absolutely clocked Anthony Joshua right on the chin. I mean, you couldn't land a more perfect punch if you tried. I mean, that was like you're in a darts game and you land right in that center bullseye. It was right on the button, and Anthony Joshua was already out of sorts from having been knocked down 3 previous times, so he was totally susceptible when that landed. So he was already damaged goods when it happened, and he just put him down for the count. I don't think he ever saw the punch coming, and he, to his credit, he tried to get up, but his legs were not cooperating, his body was discombobulated, and that was it, and he couldn't beat the count. So. We've seen Joshua suffer previous losses, decisions against Usyk in 2 fights, the knockout against Andy Ruiz on his feet. But this was different. This was your face first on the canvas.
Yeah.
Not out cold, but you're knocked out.
Yeah, he was bang out of it, wasn't he? Yeah. I mean, look, just to go back to the start of the fight. Obviously, the build-up, everyone's talking about Joshua. His trainer, obviously, he's going to take some credit for the previous fights, Anthony Joshua, because he's been looking good. Do you think he got this one a bit wrong? It just felt like straight from the go, like to get the way he got clipped in the first, like no defense, straight on the chin. That was like
his
almost
arms were low,
almost like amateur hour from him.
I think he was a little overexcited. I mean, look, Ben Davison is a good trainer, and I saw some of his comments at the post-fight press conference. He said, look, me and my team got a lot of credit for the supposed turnaround in Anthony over the last few fights, and, we got the credit. And you know what? When he loses and it doesn't have the type of performance that we anticipate or what we train for, then we got to take some of the blame also. So, he's the stand-up guy. He understands that Joshua did not fight his best. But I just look at it like this. I sometimes think, and it's not just on this particular fight, I think it's a lot of fights, to be quite honest, in my experience of doing this for quite a long time, is that there's a lot of things that kind of get overanalyzed, and you try to pick things apart. I can just say this: when the bell rings, inevitably guys are going to get hit, and it's can you recover? Joshua is not showing the greatest ability to recover. So I'm not going to sit here and say it was like some dramatic flaw in his game or some huge mistake in terms of his training. He got caught by an excellent puncher who was dialed in, ready to go, and he never really recovered from the punch. What else can you say? I mean, I don't think there's a lot of analyzation that needs to be done, to be quite honest.
His chin's not great, is it, Dan? I mean, he looks like he's going to fold when you hit him. Like Dubois, as you said, he took 3 big punches from Joshua, didn't go over. Joshua's chin.
The best heavyweights of this time, none of them have great chins. Tyson Fury's been down about 8 or 9 times in his career. Now, to his credit, he's always gotten up, but he's been down many times. Deontay Wilder, down many times. Anthony Joshua, at this point, now been down, I forgot the number, but several times. Daniel Dubois, been down 3 times in round 1 against Kevin Lorena, who is anything but a legit championship contender, not even a heavyweight. So, I mean, the only guy I think that's never been down, unless I'm forgetting something, is Usyk. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about it is he's the guy that's the smallest of all of them because he is a natural cruiserweight. That's where he did, his work prior to being a heavyweight. But I don't think he's ever been dropped, to my recollection. But the other guys, that's what makes this era so fun because you got a lot of quality guys, and they all have vulnerabilities. They've all been, fighting some of the other best guys, so inevitably you're going to get hit, and there's going to be losses suffered, and knockouts happen. I mean, this has been a really fun heavyweight era, and Joshua's been a huge part of it. Obviously, in this case, he comes up on the short end of the stick. But look, it was like 13 months ago where Daniel Dubois was in the toilet, right? He looked terrible against Usyk. He complained about a phantom low blow. He quit on his knee after a jab and was basically, left for dead by everybody. Comes back, and 2 fights later, he's won a heavyweight title. In his words, legitimized himself because he knew that the way he got the title was quite nonsense. The way that the thing happened with the IBF and Usyk being forced to vacate after beating Fury for undisputed. He even said in the buildup, "I have to legitimize myself." And guess what? He did that because not only did he beat Anthony Joshua decisively by a knockout, he did it way, 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 way easier than Alexander Usyk did in either of the 2 fights he had against Joshua. So, I'm not sure that anybody needs to see a Dubois versus Usyk rematch, but Dubois is definitely in the mix for any of the big names, whether it's Tyson Fury or, perhaps there's a rematch with Joshua, although I don't see the reason for that. But he's going to be in the mix now. He's still a young guy, by the way. Of all the top heavyweights you can name, he's the youngest of all of them.
Yes, he is. I mean, you mentioned it's a fun division right now, but in terms of Dubois, he's now a new kid on the block. He's younger, as you pointed out. You mentioned there he might not fight Usyk anytime soon, but who knows what happens. What next for Dubois then? Because this is I mean, elevated him now to levels that he's never experienced. Yes, he went into it, had the belt, but now, as you said, legitimizes that. What next for him? Who wants Dubois?
I mean, I think they're not going to have a problem getting him opponents. If you just take a look at the type of fighters that have been fighting on these Riyadh season cards, take your pick. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying there's like a movement to make the fight, but would you mind seeing Daniel in a rematch against Joe Joyce at some point? Would you mind seeing him against Zhang Zhilei? That's an interesting fight. Him against Joseph Parker. Maybe there'll be a movement to make a rematch with Anthony Joshua, who I think probably would want that, even if it's not something that is mandated. Now, Eddie Hearn said in the ring after the fight in his interview on the pay-per-view that Anthony had a right to a rematch, in terms of exercising that as a clause in his contract, the way he did against Usyk and the way he did against Andy Ruiz. Now, I am told, and I mentioned that on my podcast, and I was told by somebody involved, 2 people, as a matter of fact, who have seen the contract, who said that they don't know what Eddie Hearn is smoking, because that is just absolutely categorically not true. That Anthony Joshua, he still has another fight remaining on his agreement with Riyadh season, but it's not mandated to be a Dubois fight. It would only be if Dubois and their team decided to ask, to try to make that rematch. So he's not obligated to fight Joshua, according to the Dubois team, and any of the top heavyweights. It's like Daniel said in his post-fight interview. Anybody can get it. I mean, I don't think he's looking to duck anybody at this point.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Dan, brilliant chat. Thanks for coming on, pal.
Cheers, Danny boy.
All right, guys, you bet.
All right, Dan Rafael, legendary boxing writer.